Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
This is Mary Scott, and we've had some exciting interviews, and I think today will be another one of those. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Now, I'm going to introduce to you Denise Ashfield all the way from New Zealand, formerly South Africa. She's an expat. She's been there for 22 years in New Zealand. She told me, I didn't know it was that long. I was like, oh my goodness. Now, one of the things about Denise you need to know is that she would describe herself as a driven entrepreneur, and I'm going to add a very dedicated mother. And she has had a bricks and mortar, I think you'd call it that, for over 20 years, and currently balances two very successful businesses. And so we're going to ask her today, if you've just joined in, don't go away. I'm speaking to Denise all the way from New Zealand, so don't go anywhere. Denise, welcome to you. Lovely to have you.
Thank you, Mary. Good to be here and excited to have a chat with you today.
Are you a bit of a gardener?
I am a very big gardener, actually. It's one of my side hobbies and one of my passions to create, and I'll just make things, make the environment around me beautiful. I've got green fingers, and I love my gardening.
Yes, initially you could be fooled to think that was a virtual behind you, but I just saw some palms moving. Speaking of green finger, I've got a blue finger today because I'm a great fountain pen person. I digress. So, Denise, tell us,
yes,
you've been on the personal development road for some time. How long have you been involved with personal development?
Mary, that's actually a very good question. And I could say just on 5 years, but that would also not be true. If I really reflect back, I would say many years. I just don't think I was back then, when I say many years, back in the piece, as avid as I am now in the personal development arena as I was when years back. It's always been a passion of mine, just never been something that I created into a career, I guess, for myself. But it's always been something that I've been very passionate about in terms of my growth and probably pushing myself in my own personal development world without even realizing it at a very young age. So many years all up, but from a real focal point, I would say the last 5 years have been a very strong pull together point in the personal development arena for me.
That's lovely, isn't it? I love the way you acknowledge your earlier years as being part of your personal development growth, even though at the time it might not have been a conscious thing. This is called personal development. Is there anything back from that time that you could recall and say, wow, that was either a vertical learning curve about my growth or a curved ball? Is there anything that comes to mind that was significant growing up? You would have been growing up in South Africa that impacted your personal development growth, or let's just say your thinking. That might be a better way to put it.
I think, yes, I can. I can say to you, yes, there are a few that pop out to me. In my younger years, living in South Africa, there was, a lot of different ways of growing up and creating a success for yourself, or on a personal level, even in my sporting career. In my younger years, I was a very avid athlete, and I swam for South African championships, and also did martial arts. So in that in itself, besides the actual coaching and the training that you do, there's a lot of personal mindset that you need to work on to be able to enter into competitions, I guess, to that caliber where you've got your thinking straight, your mindset straight, for those competitions, and without me even realizing it, that was pivotal for me. And then, I look at immigrating as I did when I was a lot younger to New Zealand, and leaving literally everything behind and starting afresh here with 20 kgs of luggage when I arrived in this country. Again, it's a mindset. You're either going to come here and find fault and go with the, oh, well, poor me, I've got to start all over again, and challenge struggle yourself through that. I'll use the word struggle, I don't like to use it, but for this conversation, absolutely. Or you can come with that open mind of this is it, this is a new start for me, and look at everything in a different light in terms of what you're doing. So again, then, I was working on myself in my own personal development without actually physically realizing that's what I was doing, and I came here, as I said, with very little, and with the right mindset and the right attitude and the right thinking, created for myself what I have done as I sit here chatting to you today. So there's quite a few points that I could pick out, in terms of my journey and things that I've done that most certainly can depict that.
It's funny, isn't it, when you go to a new country? Look, I only moved from New Zealand to Australia a long time ago, but the potentiality is enormous because you come with a blank canvas, don't you? You with 20 kilos, like it's nothing to uproot yourself from where you were brought up and to start. Wow, think of that. The potentiality is absolutely off the charts, and now you've created a canvas. But before we go on to that, I just want to ask a question. Is it correct you're a black belt in karate? Is that true?
Yeah, yes, it is correct. I am a black belt in the karate style that I did when I was younger, called Kyokushinkai. So absolutely worked myself up from white belt and went through the brown, greens and yellows and worked myself up to a black belt, and then did fight in the South African Championships.
Did you?
Yes. So did really well with that, and it was just something I did. I was never one that did things in halves. So absolutely do carry that skill. It's probably still always sits there. You get trained to do many things when you get to that caliber of martial arts, and I still have that in me, I guess. So no stalking me down a dark alley is all I can say to anybody that knows.
And what was your mindset? What did it take with regard to your mindset to achieve? I think that's a very esteemed level, black belt, and all credit to you and kudos, and being in championships. That's just lovely, lovely to know. So if you didn't know that about Denise, what a treat. You see, I have a way of squirreling things. So tell me, what did it take for your mindset to prepare for those events when you're a black belt?
Mary, a lot of mindset, because it is, it's not only about, it's got a lot to do with skill, fair enough, and you've got to train to be able to have those skills, so I'm not denying that, and that goes part of your dedication to show up, for your training and to practice on a technique that is perhaps not 100% as it needs to be. So there's the dedication and the commitment, number one. But then also from a mindset perspective is, to go into the rounds of the championships and you fight in your weight and your age. The championships are established that way, so you're in a weight and age group, is also, to focus on your end results and to focus on techniques that you are good at, and with the aim of achieving, the aim of staying within the rules, if I may say that, because there's regulations, but, not letting comments from the side, because they in a situation like that, it's noisy and you've got a lot of feedback and comments coming in from the side, not to let that go into your mind, not to let your opponent disrupt you because they've caught you off guard, and you have, and that goes in life, you know, sometimes you get caught off guard. How do you rectify yourself from that? Do you let it absorb you and throw you completely off your game, literally in my case, off my fight, round? Or do you pull yourself together and stay focused on the end result of what you want to do, and stay and use the skills that you do have, and knowing you have the skills to achieve what you came there to do? So there's a lot that goes on. Most important for me at the time of entering into any of the championships, because there were a lot of small comps beforehand, before you even got to that SA champ, is to still my mind. That was probably my biggest, because, you can have all this chatter and you're looking around and you're seeing a lot of things, people bigger than you and all that sort of carry on, is just to still your mind and know you've got what it takes. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got to the point where you are at the moment and have been selected. So, still your mind.
How do you do
focused.
that, Denise? How do you still your mind? You've got all these people. You're highly competitive. You're driven. You're committed. You're very disciplined. I know that. How do you still your mind with all that? Give some people here in our Facebook group some tips about how they might still their mind.
How to still my mind. How did I still my mind back then? I would just, I would literally, if you could, back then we didn't have things like that. Now you could put things in your ears, like you see a lot of these athletes come out now and they've got earpods and things in where they're listening to something else, so that they're cutting out the outside noise. Back in the day when I was doing what I was doing, that wasn't an option. So you've got to really be able to shut off, literally don't listen. And you can actually do that if without earpods or without other side noises. You literally shut off and stay focused on what I would call my mantra, my thinking, what I'm going to do, how am I going to do that, my water breaks, and just talk to myself is what I did. And just be quiet within, knowing, not let anything else come into my mind, not let the side comments, the this, the that. There's nothing. I've got one job ahead of me now, and that is to do what I need to do. I run through what I need to do, and I'm just quiet within. And it takes practice. It's not something that you can just do, and you suddenly just can shut off the chatter. To me, that's not something that can just happen. It takes practice, and I just did, because with all the side influences coming in, I would land up going out there, still carrying that thought of what I just heard somebody say just prior, and it wasn't standing me in good stead. So you just learn to still the outside noise and listen to yourself.
And do you still practice that skill today, or that discipline?
I do, yes, because if I don't, I use a different term now in terms of things that I do now, in terms of staying in my own lane. I focus more, focus on what I'm looking for, and I don't look sideways at what everybody else is doing. So I do that in a different aspect or in a different way, business-wise, and what I do is my day-to-day life now. But taking that quiet time for me is also very important, to have quiet. Literally, when I say quiet time, I'm talking about actually being quiet, having that peaceful time to let your thoughts be your thoughts. I have morning music and I have nighttime music, and my morning music is my birds outside in my garden, because I've got an abundance of them that come in and out here. And that is actually my music. Instead of there being a lot of noise and radios, and at nighttime, when it's quiet and the birds have all gone, they've all gone to bed for the night, if you call it that, and you listen, there's a lot more music that's coming out. It's just a different music now. It's all the nighttime insects, the crickets, the things like that. So that's my nighttime music, and that's my still time. And it's really healthy to have that, instead of constant influx of information, noise, radios, TVs, talking all the time. I find that in itself is how I quieten my mind.
So Denise, let's go back. You've arrived in New Zealand. You've got a blank canvas. what was one significant thing that jolted you, let's say jolted for want of a better word, into this whole notion of, gee, it might be good to get on the personal development path?
What jolted me the most is that I had a fresh start, and I came here for a reason, and I had one of two choices at that point arriving here, is that this was an opportunity that had been granted to me that is not something that was a given. It was something that I was very fortunate to be able to get in and get into the country as I had so quickly, and I had an opportunity to make something really great for myself. So with that, I had to, well, not I didn't have to, my whole outlook was just different, and I can't exactly put my finger on it. It was just that notion of, I have so many opportunities now available to me. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to take it with both hands and I'm going to go forward and make something really great for myself while I was still a lot younger than I am now? Or am I just going to just go with the norm and just do the whole day-to-day thing? And I thought, no. Now I have an opportunity to really grow and thrive in a healthier environment, in an environment that can afford me so much more. And I just took that and the beautiful country, the opportunities that were so wow to me that I didn't actually even realize were available when I came here, and just took that with my mind and with my thinking, and just instilled that every day. Every day was, oh wow, oh look at this, can you believe these guys can do that? I never knew that. And I took everything in that light, and I think that's what stood me really in good stead, because I didn't take things for granted, and I looked at everything with so much gratitude compared to, and I think maybe I was fortunate because I had something to compare it against, what I didn't have before, to what was available now. So perhaps I guess when you don't have something anymore, or you never had it before, and then suddenly you have it, you can look at it with a lot more gratitude and a lot more, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's just it's more growth for yourself. And I think that's really what got me where I am, and how that personal development became even more profound than what it is as I sit here today. Does that
It's a big
sort of
move.
make sense?
Yeah, it's a big move, isn't it? To move countries. And often on this call interviewing people, we've talked about contrast, and there's a beautiful one. What I had, what I didn't have, and now what the possibilities are.
Absolutely.
And you bring up a really powerful notion of gratitude. How does gratitude work in your life now? Is it a constant? What do you think the value of gratitude is for you?
Mary, my gratitude is massive, and I can say that it's been something that's been was always very important to me, but right now, as I sit here talking to you, it is massive. When I arrived in this country, my level of gratitude was huge. And I don't think even in my early days I realized it to the extent that I do now, looking at those that really would like to perhaps leave and can't. I practice my gratitude daily, and you get some people that will practice it morning and night and look at how grateful they are. And yes, I do that. But it is just it's an ongoing, everyday, all day thing with me without me even realizing that I'm doing it. And it is something that is very profound for me, because it keeps me on a positive in terms of my outlook in my day-to-day life, because if I reflect on and it's not always the big things, it doesn't have to always be the big things. It's the things that I think a lot can be forgotten in terms of gratitude, in terms of the jumping in the shower in the morning and having that warm water running. Those are the things that we're always grateful that I don't want to assume, but common things. I'm grateful for the nice house I live in, or the nice car I have, or But peel those onion layers back just a little bit more and look at what's around you in terms of your gratitude and what you actually have, and that you're grateful for, that you have a warm bed to jump into at night, that you actually had a meal tonight, that your environment is warm, that you could jump in and have a nice shower and brush your teeth in the morning, things like that. So, my gratitude extends further than just the big things. I look at a lot of the small things. I look at sitting out in my garden and, even grateful for the birds that have honored me to come visit and spend time in my garden. To me, that's gratitude, that they feel safe enough to come and spend their time in my space instead of picking somebody else's space. So gratitude is a massive thing in my life. It really is. And for those that don't practice gratitude at all, I would say, start with baby steps if that's something that you'd like to sort of experience or give a go. When my daughter was a lot younger than she is now, I started the whole gratitude journey with her. And when we would sit down for dinner at night, once we got going, we all had to share at the table what we were grateful for the day. Being a young little one then, you'll be surprised at what little kids can come up with in terms of their gratitude, because kids think very simply, and they also say things as they see it. And from a very young age, so that just shows that my gratitude's come for years. And that's something we still do today. We sit most evenings at dinner and, your turn, my turn, and we each at least give each other 3 things that we're grateful for that have transpired in our day, big or small.
That's brilliant. I love the way you say it, like, I practice gratitude. It's like saying I practice yoga. Yes. And the implied in that is, in your practice, it deepens. That's what I'm thinking. You tell me if I'm on the right path. It deepens my understanding of this whole notion of gratitude and what it means and the value it brings in my life. Is that what you mean by practice?
Absolutely does, because you practice, you use the word yoga or the yoga, martial arts, doesn't matter, I did swimming, you practice that to fine-tune that art, whatever it may be. And for me, that gratitude is a form of an art that I want to continue to practice, and I can, from practicing it, I can see the positive results that come into my space every day in my mind. Because if you're practicing gratitude in the right way, and you're looking at things in that way, the positive thoughts are going through your mind and not the negative thoughts, because what you think about, you will bring about. So if you focusing on your gratitude in a positive light is positive thinking, and the more positive thinking you have going on in your mind, the more positive results you're going to have in your environment, and that will come to you. So, gratitude, just saying the gratitude is one thing, but if you're thinking about it, it's coming into your mind, it's thought-provoking.
My goodness, I hope you were listening to all of that. There were so many tips there, Denise, what you think about, you bring about, and you practice, and the more you do it, the more it comes easy, all that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And baby steps, taking baby steps. There's so many enormous tips there. Let's shift gears a little bit. You've mentioned your daughter. Is she someone, and I see you looking, I think that dog of yours has come round and is inside now, is that right? Is that what's happened?
Absolutely.
He was quite happy outside before. Now he is.
I do apologize if you do hear him. He's just brought in a massive branch about yay big so I'm just glancing to the side. I do apologize. He's so small, but he's brought a massive thing into the house. So
he's part of the family, as are my dogs. That's fantastic. So your daughter, is she following in your footsteps with this whole personal growth, personal development path? What's your take on your role modeling, and do kids follow in your footsteps with personal growth?
Absolutely. I can say that. I speak for Taylor, my daughter. Those that know me will know how precious Taylor is to me. But absolutely, I do believe what you role model I can't say that is verbatim for everyone, but what you role model will roll out on the other side in terms of your children. Taylor has been exposed to personal development from very young. And with my 5 years of more focused personal development in terms of with my work that I do now, and her being more of a mature age, she's now 15. I think the whole concept of it is more understandable in terms of what she's hearing and seeing. So she's in that environment all the time. We talk that way. She listens to the podcasts I listen to. She has a couple of favorites that she follows and so forth as well. And she's very focused in that direction. If I could snapshot for you and show you guys, which unfortunately I can't, she has got a big notice board in her study. And if you had to see the goals that she has and the things that she works on, I mean, for her birthday last year, actually, she asked for the book the 5 a.m. Club, and then she was only 14. She asked for the 5 a.m. Club book to be bought for her, was on her wish list. So that just shows me she's got a gratitude diary. She's got an empowerment book that she fills in. I mean, at some points I'll be really hand on heart and say she's a lot more diligent in terms of getting those things completed than I do. My days are different, I get, but she's got so much more of a kickstart ahead of her as a result of the exposure that she's been exposed to in the home alongside me with my personal development journey.
That's brilliant. And we've talked a few times, Denise, here in these interviews about the power of generational change. And if you're role modeling to your children, your grandchildren, how powerful that can be in terms of changing the collective mindset.
Absolutely.
And you are doing your bit.
She's going to have a huge, I believe she's got a huge advantage, moving forward in life, just with that foundation already set in place. And it will grow stronger. As I grow, she will grow. And it's something that I would love to see be brought into schools as a subject, because I think if I had that in my younger years at school, and even for her, and I see the teenagers and the younger ones of today now, there's a lot that can come out of that and a lot of value for them that they can gain. And I think they would make more profound positive decisions if they had exposure to an inch of the personal development exposure that I have at my fingertips.
Yes, absolutely. And how wonderful that Taylor can be there following in your footsteps. And
Absolutely.
she's also, she's a bit of a sportswoman herself. She's very successful at netball, isn't she? I wonder.
She is.
You've got to ask yourself, modeling, how powerful is? And we know that you were very competitive at your sports. Yes. Your karate, absolutely. Your martial arts, and now you're creating that same thing. What's that experience like? Because the foundation to this must be about aspects like belief in self, being worthy enough to be successful. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, from a perspective of myself, I've got some beautiful sun coming in here against my face. So run that past me again. I'm not 100% with what you.
Well, I'm thinking that it's such a powerful role modeling that you've been able to do.
Yes. With
Taylor. Here she is. And I'm going to draw a long bow here and say she's following your footsteps. She's very involved in netball at a competitive level.
Yes.
Let's ask this then. Ask a better question is what I say to people. So let me ask a better question. How would you say her mindset is at 15, and she's very dedicated to her netball, yes, to you at 15 and what you were dedicated to? You said she might have an advantage. What do you perceive that to be as we sit here?
She does have an advantage. I will say at my younger years, I was quite a self-disciplined young girl. I didn't, unfortunately, and I'm sure there's many out there, didn't have the support she's got. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about the support that I provide to her. And I would say, from a role model perspective, you know, in my parents' days, you know, the right thing was to, you know, finish your schooling, get a job, you know, and you know, you buy a house, have 2.5 kids and a boat, and you know, that was the thinking back then. And you know, my parents were very low key in terms of anything that I achieved. It's just how it was. Whereas with myself, you know, and I just then took the reins of my own and did what I wanted to, and then have grown into who I am today. The support and the support that is I give to her, the role models that I've demonstrated, you know, have certainly reflected onto her as she is today. You know, she does see someone that is very determined, that nothing is impossible. There's always a way to work something out. And I can see that rolling off on her all the time. Her competitive edge. We have many a discussion about my netball days and her netball days. I can see how she relies on me on the side of the courts when she's playing in competitions and things, and she'll come to me afterwards and I'll chat to her about this and this. She will look to me all the time for that, because she knows I've been there. She knows I'll guide her right. So, you know, I believe having the right role model in your life, having the right material available to you is so vitally important. And it's a beautiful reflection to see. I see on days where there are big tournaments that she plays on Saturday mornings when we're on the way to tournament. We have, with instructions given to me, of course, we need quiet time. She needs to still her mind before she gets on the court for the day for the big game. So that just in itself just tells you everything. As we were talking about stilling the mind earlier on when I was younger and going into competitions, it's just something you practice.
Magnificent. I love it. I just love it. Now, Denise, what do you believe has been the one thing, the pivotal thing in your entire life now, not just in your younger years,
yes,
that has deepened your commitment to your growth in personal development?
My thinking.
Tell me more.
There's many, it's not just that, but if you're looking for the one main thing that is been the biggest focal point for me is what's going on in my mind. And you know, you can reflect back on life and you can reflect back on circumstances or situation you went through, and I've certainly done that. And you know, I've questioned, why are these things happening to me? You know, why is all this coming to me, whether it's good or bad? You can see I'm frowning, so it would have been something that might not have been that great, and all this stuff is coming. And then if I reflect back on it, what was I thinking? And you know, to me, and I've read a couple of books, I've listened to many a podcast, and I know it can sound like a cliche, for lack of a better way of putting it, but you know, that saying about what you think about, you will bring about. It couldn't be more true. And I say that sincerely, because I find that when I start thinking, whether it's a positive or a negative, and that thought creates the next thought, creates the next thought, creates the next thought, and you don't even realize that you're actually doing it. And before you know it, you have created this huge thing and thought in your head and in your mind. And that's what's occupying your bandwidth, your brain space all the time. So you will continue to attract whatever's going on in here, upstairs. So for me, the most pivotal thing is what am I thinking? What's going through our mind? Because that is what is going to produce that result. So, and I'm not saying that I think positive all the time, and I'm a positive junkie 24/7, because there are times where, you know, things happen and I'm thinking about circumstances or things, or I have a thought that goes to my mind that's not positive. I'm human like everybody else. But when I find that starts to happen, you know, I've got another skill or another tool in my toolbox, which I call witness consciousness, which is something I learned. And I become very aware, and I actually catch myself going down that track of if I may say, that negative thinking, that I'm starting to build that story. And I have become very, very aware of it. And I actually catch myself and I stop myself. It is something that I've had to practice. It didn't just happen because, like I said just now, you can find that you've gone down a rabbit hole and you don't even realize that you've done it. And it's all this negative thinking, why this person did or why that happened. And you're making a big thing. So I'm very, very aware of that now. And I catch myself when I see that I'm going down that track and pull myself right back and cut it off. Because if I don't, I'm aware where that can take me. And I am very aware what the results will be that will produce themselves. So for me, out of all the things, and there are many that are just as important as the next, but it is the thinking to me that is one of the most important. Get your thinking straight, get your thinking in the right place. Everything else will follow suit.
I believe that to be true. So if there's someone here that got themselves in our personal development hub and they're wondering, oh, I'm not sure about all these courses out here, I think I'm just going to sit and see what happens. What would you say to them today if they're listening? And if you are listening, listen up.
Well, you can just sit and wait and see what happens. It's a choice, right? But you'll probably find in 6 months, in a year, in 6 years' time, you'll still be sitting exactly where you are waiting. That is my answer to oh, well, I'll just wait and see. I'll just, I guess my question is, why are you waiting? What's getting in your way? What are you afraid of? There might be some fears that you need to address, and we all have them, and yeah, you need to address them. But I guess what is causing you to wait? What have you got to lose in terms of finding out more? You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, and that's how I've viewed it. And I can hand on heart say my level of growth at my age in the last 5 years has been massive. And that's because I didn't just sit and wait to, well, we'll see next week. It's a matter of give it a go. How do you know unless you've given it a go? Because if you're just going to sit and wait, what are you waiting for? I guess that would be my first question, is what are you actually waiting for?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that. I thought, we need the blowtorch method, get into the action, change your thinking, change your vibration, raise your energy.
Absolutely. There's no other way. And a simple example would be, things that could be just sort of hum-de-ho, and one of your favorite soundtracks comes on the radio, and how your vibe can just change because it's a song you really enjoy, and you just get into that vibe of that song, and that is how quickly you can actually just flip from a negative to a positive. If a song can come on the radio and just flip you into a good mood because it's a song that you really enjoy, if a song can snap you into that from a positive to a negative, you can snap yourself into that positive and negative. It's because you're hearing the song is going into your mind, is using good thoughts, that is no different.
Absolutely. And I love that. And there's another tip, folks. If you're still listening and you're still with us, I hope you are, how you can change your state in a heartbeat, in a flick of a finger. Absolutely. Bang! Turn the music up, sing loudly. If you're at home, dance and sing loudly. And how powerful is that, to catch yourself in the moment and say, yes. And I had one of these events in the weekend. I was driving and I was ruminating and I was like, I'm aware of my energy was going down. And I was like, I absolutely said, change your state, turned up the music, started singing, and it was a change in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Well, we have nearly come to the end of our time. Let me ask you one last thing, Denise.
Yes.
What's one little gem you'd like to pass on to the members that are listening or will listen to this live interview today? Is there one thing that you would like to pass on? Might be your little treat, your gift to the group, if you like, anything at all.
what I would say to anybody out there is have a look around at your circle of people that you accompany, or have a look around in your environment, and know that the circle of people and the environment is something that you've created as a result of your choices and your decisions. And if you're happy with it, great. If there's areas that you're looking at and think, I'm not happy with it, I don't like it, all I can say to you is you can make all those changes. You brought about what you have now, and you did it well, whether you like it or whether you don't. You did it, you brought it. And if you're in a situation or circumstances that you're not happy with and you want to change that, whether it be your personal life, your relationships, your work circumstances, know that you can change anything to what you want it to be. You did what you did before. You can create anything that you want to. Just have a look around, identify, make the changes where they need to be.
Nothing changes till you change it. Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely.
Well, Denise, thank you for giving up your time. I know you're a very busy entrepreneur, balancing quite a few, or should I say flipping a few plates. I am so appreciative of having you here today, and you've given out some very good tips, some gems, and like I said, let me thank you again. This is Mary Scott. On that note, Denise, thank you again. Have a beautiful rest of your day, everyone, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.